Police say that the handing out of financial aid was not coordinated with authorities, and at least 2 people have been arrested over the incident. Yemen-based journalist Hussein al-Bukhati.
Okay. I have another retraction. Yeah. Flashcards, I've always been a strong supporter. I push the flashcards a lot in learning languages. Yeah, I gotta backtrack now. I mean, if you're using a technique that's very prolonged, very ineffective, I guess you can say, by comparison, flashcards is a good approach because it's like a desperate attempt to identify essential terms. And since repetition is key, I still stand by that. Yeah, if you're using not the best system, language learning system, flashcards may still be doable. I mean, if you're committed to a system that just kind of drags it out. The thing of it is, flashcards are very labor intensive. Alright, even when I did recommend it, if I was speaking to someone that had like a full schedule, like a student or whatever, learning a foreign language, I would suggest, just cover up the darn thing and just test yourself like that. Whereas if this was like a semi-retired individual and the language course was the only course they were taking, I would actually suggest the flashcards. Now, again, I'm backtracking on this now. Obviously, you want to use the most efficient system you can. And this guy really seems to have narrowed it to hit it. If this... Because, yeah, he's already done the work as far as identifying, supposedly. Alright? I guess I'll know more in a couple of months or a few months. Because, yeah, if the 350 words he's identified and stressed as far as what you should be focusing on are truly the core of the language or whatever, then you don't need the flashcards, right? He's already identified the essential terms. So, yeah, if this guy really did it, then yeah, I'm backtracking. Forget about the flashcards. Okay, just cover it up. As he suggests, just cover it up and test yourself to make sure you absorb the information before proceeding. Again, it's only been a couple of days, a few days, whatever. The beginning is always very messy. Your schedule is whatever your schedule is. Your daily routine is whatever it is. And you've got to try to incorporate and get a handle on the language material you're using and how you're going to actually tap into it. Of course, with all the other language experiences I've had, it's impossible for me not to think of other systems I've encountered. And yeah, because after you've absorbed the material he presents here, he suggests another course of action. Namely, taking a course in school preferably college level, he seems to be stressing, to to build up your vocabulary and grammar skills. As he stated, this is only focusing on conversational skills. That's it. That's all he's doing. The grammar, he's not even getting into, and whatever. Any more than just to explain what he's presenting, but he doesn't get into it. So, and he will tell you that you will be so ahead of your classmates and your progress will be so much quicker if you absorb this information, right? Now, for those that don't have that option, I've come across, as I was going through trying to prepare to teach English, I was going through some of the, there's one particular English instructor YouTube channel, I'm going to put a link in this thing, who goes over how to practice a language on your own, how to practice speaking on your own. So yeah, I'm going to be applying that. I'm not touching it now. I haven't even reviewed the information or anything. But it's impossible for me not to be thinking, because I've exposed myself to so many different language learning techniques that I can't go through this process without them like opening the floodgates to all the material I've already gone through. And this particular individual is the one that stands out now. So I'm going to put a link to this thing. And as far as whatever reading material you choose to, because I cannot stop myself. I can't help myself. Like I said, I've just exposed myself to too many language learning techniques. I can't help but think of what kind of reading material am I going to, And I've basically determined that my own is going to be the reading material I'm going to focus on, because I have no desire to wrestle with new reading material if I actually can just use my own material, okay? So I'm not going to be making arguments for something I've done, okay? I've already made all the arguments as I created all this stuff, so I don't have to add to any other complications that come along with trying to learn a new language. So what's going to be the best reading material? Obviously your own, if you can do that. That Google Translate, I'm using Google Translate. I do not know how accurate the translation is, but as my proficiency with Russian increases, I expect to be able to identify any translations that are not appropriate. And I'm judging this by my own ability to do this in Spanish, which is really the only language I have a solid background in. If I use Google to translate something into Spanish, and I do need Google to translate because I can't do it. What I can do is read the thing in Spanish and say, no, that's not what I mean at all. That I can do, all right? I know enough to be able to do that. Hopefully, I'll get to the point where I'll know enough Russian to be able to do that. Let me put it to you this way. If I can't do it in Spanish, I know I'm not going to be able to do it in Russian. All right? So I'm basically using my Spanish skills to gauge the likelihood of being able to acquire enough Russian to be functional in. All right. Fluency, I'm not even worrying about it. Fluency is when I've been in a country for 5 years. That's when I expect to be fluent. All right. Being functional, yeah. I want to be able to be functional. How realistic that is, I don't know. Especially when you're just interacting online. Because at this point, that is all I can assume that I will ever be able to do. Things just have been burned down to the ground. It's just gone, right? So, yeah. Anyway, it's still the beginning days, which of course are the messiest. I'm still just exposing myself to this new language material and determining how I'm going to progress in it. So everything's still very messy. Everything's still, just haven't really constructed any kind of routine to progress in the new language material or anything. I'm just dealing with my initial assessment as far as the possibilities of applying this and making it work for me. As far as I can see, I'm probably going to be covering 2 pages a week, because I not only want to be able to know it, but I want to be able to get through it without having to stare at the darn thing for 5 minutes to remember what the heck the thing was. So in other words, I want to be able to get through it in a more or less timely manner. So don't want to rush it. So I'm thinking 2 pages. There are only 22 lists in here. Anywhere from 10 to 20 terms for the most part. And if you need to commit this thing to memory and being able to apply it well enough to be able to do the sentences on the bottom, in other words, cover the thing in the Russian thing and read it in English and be able to say it in Russian without it taking half an hour for every sentence kind of thing, Yeah, it's probably going to be 2 pages a week, which means the whole thing will probably take 3 months to absorb all the material. Yeah, supposedly this is the most efficient. Another thing I found out as of just languages in general, less is more. Because everything you learn, you're going to have to review. So if you're just throwing all kinds of vocabulary and grammar at yourself, you probably will never become conversational. All right? So don't do that. This is the material I've got. It's a very, very, very thin book. You see how thin this is? And it's only 10 to 20 words per page kind of thing. And only 22 pages. So if I cover, like I said, 2 pages a week, not just being able to look at it and know what it is, but being able to recall it without it taking me 5 minutes for every word, right? Just being able to recall with a fair amount of ease, all right, is what I mean. Yeah, so if I don't rush through it, if I just let the process happen and don't have a stroke because it's not going fast enough for me, I just, try to back off a little. So, yeah. So that's, as far as the time frame is concerned, that's what I'm thinking. And yeah, it's still the first couple of days or the first few days, so this is the messiest time. This is me trying to fight using old techniques that are very inefficient, very counterproductive. There are tons of, you only make money on these things if you can draw it out, right? So all the people that are selling you all these kind of fancy things that's going to take you the rest of your life to actually try to acquire, if you ever acquire it. No, I mean, they're making money off of this thing, right? It is not to their advantage for them to point out the most efficient way for you to learn anything. So you got to keep that in mind when you're looking at all these programs that people are shoving in your face kind of thing. So, yeah, keeping it really simple, very straightforward, no bells and whistles, just the bare essentials, right? Because whatever you learn, you have to review. The longer it takes, the more likely you will never learn this stuff. So, okay, this is already longer than it should be because, like I said, this is only the first few days, which is just too messy to really say anything with any level of confidence or just, it's not tested. This is me dealing with too much previous information. But yeah, I needed to back off the flashcards. If you're using something this efficient, you don't need it. It's too labor intensive, too time consuming, and you're already dealing with a process that's going to take at least a few months to get the bare essentials. You don't need any extra stuff to slow it down. So yeah, I needed to backtrack. Okay, so this is part of my process, learning Russian process, and yeah, like I said, I'm going to put some links on there. Oh, another thing I did want to, yes, I did get the audio book thing, and I did download it. Onto my tablet, but I'm actually using it from the laptop. I don't regret downloading it to the tablet, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to try to make a point to use the tablet at least once a week, just so I know. Just to have that little variation approach, just to be that much more versatile. With whatever may happen, and yeah, I do think it's important because as I found out doing this, I wrote down some notes here. To access the chapters, because otherwise you're going to be stuck listening to the entire recording without being able to go back and pinpointing exactly that, yeah. On the tablet, you've got to tap on the scrolling title for chapters and other options. Okay, as you're listening to this thing on your tablet, you're going to see the title scrolling. Tap on that scrolling thing, and it'll bring up the chapters and other options that you can access. Otherwise, you're just going to be staring at this thing, having to listen to it from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, and which makes no sense, right? And especially something like language learning that takes a lot of repetition, that's going to be useless. Tap on the scrolling title, and it'll bring up the chapters that you can access individually and other options. So, yeah, right. On the laptop, you've got to click on the play button to get the chapters. It'll open up another window. that will display the separate chapters and other options that you can access. So yeah, I'm going to make a note out of that. And that's from the Audible website. And if you have an Amazon account, it's your Amazon password and username or email that you have registered with Amazon that you're going to use for the Audible website. Same, okay? It's the same credentials that you use for Amazon. In other words, the same username or email thing and password you use for Amazon, you're going to use that for the Audible website. As a matter of fact, I wasn't able to purchase this through Amazon. I tried 3 times to make so much, just so many times that I ended up calling my bank. And if you've seen any of my previous videos, you know how much I enjoy doing that. I ended up calling my bank to make sure there wasn't a hold on my debit card because the darn thing wasn't going through. I actually had to go through the thing and contact, get the help center thing, having to read through the 2 or 3 articles until you still need assistance kind of thing. I ended up clicking the contact thing and choosing the chat box. And the person I chatted with in the chat box gave me a link that took me to the Audible website platform. Then I just clicked and then it went through. So once you just give up trying to, if you've tried several times to get the Audible thing through Amazon and it didn't work, contact us. Just click on the contact us. The articles, don't worry about it. You still need help, click that. Talk to someone in their chat thing and they'll give you a link. And once you get to that link, that's it. Then it's just a one-click thing and it worked. So that's the mess I had to deal with. I hope it goes easier for you. But yeah. Anyway. Okay, yeah, those were the initial problems I had setting it up. Now that it's set up, now it's my issues that I have to deal with, which is why I thought it was important to take back what I had said, because I pushed flashcards so hard. And again, it's fine if you insist on using an inefficient system, but if you're using a good system that just cuts to the chase and just gives you the real essentials, you don't need to try to figure out what the essentials are yourself, which is basically what flashcards are. Because eventually you realize I can't review all this, and you have to narrow it down to you. So you're basically doing what this guy's already done. So yeah, just cover the thing and test it. So this is me backing off the flashcard argument. If the system is going to be that efficient, then you don't need to basically do your own research, which is, again, what flashcards end up doing. Okay. I hope I didn't confuse too many people, but there it is. Alright, I'll put the link into the other guy's information, the learning how to speak on your own kind of thing, which in today's world I think is really the way to go, because too much BS out there. So yeah, I think this is really the way that you're going to have to do it now, but whatever. Okay, so that's my little learning Russian update, and whatever. Let's see how this goes. Alright, as always, try to stay safe, try to stay healthy, and I will talk to you later. Take care.